The House of Representatives says it is saddened and concerned that President Muhammadu Buhari declined assent to the amended 2010 Electoral Act. It expresses fears over the continued absence of a legislative framework, especially as a delay in the passage is already eating into the 6-month window provided by law for amendment to the law.
The House says the advantages to be derived from the amendment far outweigh whatever discrepancy might have been noticed. Well, we have joining us in the studio human rights lawyer Justice Uhuebu. Good morning and thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Justice. Nice to see you.
So what do you think the implications are really, first off, for this veto by the president on the electoral bill?
Well, I think, honestly speaking, I think it's drawing us back. Because this is not the first time this thing started. If you remember, this issue of amendment saga started earlier when the National Assembly wanted to change the sequence of election, and the president vehemently refused. And in fact, it caused a very serious mayhem in the National Assembly and the executive. And today, they've dropped that one. And there are other things now. I don't know why the president will refuse assent. If you look at the body language, you now begin to ask this question. Is the president does he actually have the interests of this country at heart or not?
Well, the president has actually raised issues. He says that drafting, that it might affect the interpretation and application of the Principal Act. And then there's this issue of cross-referencing error in the provided amendments to Section 18 of the bill. Honestly, you are the lawyer here. Can you help us out to understand exactly what this is all about? Because I kept looking at it, reading it over and over and over again to make sense of it. But I'm not a lawyer. You
that have read that over and over again, is there any ambiguity there?
Well, you tell us.
There seems to be a lot of ambiguity.
No. What I'm trying to say is this. Let us look at it holistically and face the reality. What I discovered in this administration is that the executive, from the beginning of this administration, wants to do the work of the executive and also do the work of the legislature. It will not work. The legislatures are the only body saddled with the responsibility of making laws. So you're now indirectly or directly telling us or telling Nigerians that all the legislative members, both in the national, in the House of Reps and Senate, they are all daft. So it's only you now, the president, that have seen that there is a drafting error. It's no longer a technical error. So where are we going? Let the president come out openly and tell Nigerians what his problem is for not assenting to it. But far from that, I think at this moment, the National Assembly should override the president.
Just for the sake of overriding it, help us understand.
For the sake of overriding,
what we need you to do, especially for the benefit of Nigerians, is to help us to understand exactly what this means. That the issue of cross-referencing error in the proposed amendment to Section 18 of the bill, right? Yes. And has actually said that the appropriation amendment is to substitute the existing subsection 2 with the proposed subsection 1A, while the proposed subsection 1B is the new subsection 2A.
I guess those are just technicalities.
You see, let me tell you.
Shift this from here, put it here.
Put it here.
This. Fine. You see, the Nigerian Constitution has been amended before.
Yes.
Which, what we're operating today is 1999 Constitution as amended. This is an electoral act. It's not even the ground norms, so to say. By implication, it is what we call enabling status that gives life and power to a particular, a parastatal or government formation. So when you look at it there now, you cannot, the question, what should be the primary concern is this. Is there any section there or any provision that runs or that will run contrary to the provisions of the Constitution?
Which is what they've said.
Do you understand the thing? Even if there is, you are not the court of law to determine that.
All right.
Leave it until there is a contradiction or an inconsistency, because the law is clear that any law, any legislation that runs inconsistency with the Constitution to the extent of its inconsistency must be null and void. And it is only a court of competent jurisdiction that should interpret that, and not the executive. I have said it, and let Nigerians understand me. That I keep on saying this, I'll use my word again, simplicity. Yes, that the government cannot do the work of the executive, the work of the legislature, and the work of the judiciary. It's not possible. And that's why we're not having cohesion in this administration.
All right. The National Assembly is on recess. When they come back, we're going to see outright movement, well, like we were saying earlier. But is it likely that the National Assembly can override the president on this?
See, let me tell you, once there is an amendment or any legislation before the president, what did the law say? If the president refuses assent to top majority of the House will give, it becomes law. But the issue here is this. You see, the way we are going now, election is around the corner. If you remember, this thing is even belated.
Yeah.
If you remember the recommendation of Mohammed Well's reports on the Electoral Act and Reform. If we had even started implementing that, we wouldn't be where we are today. Why is it that anybody in power? See, let me tell you, the law is not meant for anybody. I don't think anybody will make any law now because of Mr. President. Because one day he will cease to be the president, another person will come in there.
Exactly, and the law remains.
And the law remains. Secondly, let's even look at it also this way. The people that made this law or that came up with this proposal, the law went through all the stages, both the committee stage, hearing stage, and all the rest. They are all included APC members, PDP members, ABGA members, and all the rest. So it's not, why must we play politics with it?
It's like Nigeria speaking.
Yeah, so why must we play politics with it? Are you also, is the president also telling us that also his own people, which he calls his own people, because what we practice in Nigeria today is party politics, no longer Nigerian politics, the interest of the people. So which means, you see, the truth is this. The National Assembly should do the needful. Because because as far as I'm concerned, it's even an insult to them. Yes. It's to me. Because there are lawyers there. If the thing even has to go through the committee stage, vetting and all the rest. So suddenly it is not the president that will discover technicalities and drafting errors. He said drafting errors.
Yes.
So the issue there is this: what is your interest? I have looked at the amendment. I did not even see any provision there that will whittle on any individual, including the president.
Well, he also said that it would adversely affect the operations of INEC.
Has INEC come out openly to complain to Nigerians? Is he not speaking? You know, this is the same thing I said last time. When the president came out and was saying that INEC is going to conduct a free and fair election in 2019, and I said, has the president become INEC overnight? Well, where are we going? Can't we say the truth in this country? Let INEC call a press conference, address Nigerians. We have issues with this, with this, with this. And Nigeria, see, let me tell you, one of the major problems we have in this country is because we are not following the rule of law. One of the things embodied in the rule of law is public opinion.
Well, the president has said national interest supersedes the rule of law. So.
But you and I know my position there. As far as I'm concerned, I vehemently disagree with the president. And I will say it, I'll repeat it, and I'll keep on saying it. Because this government will come and go. And it might be me that will be president tomorrow or next time.
Or
but the truth is, yes, or anybody. But the truth is this. The truth is this. No matter how passionate you are about anything like fighting corruption, security, and all the rest, you must do it within the ambit of the law.
That's true.
Provided you're not doing it within the ambit of the law, it is no longer a democratic situation.
Exercise.
Yeah, we do understand that, but a lot of
but sorry, when even the president said national security, what does he even mean by national security?
Okay, that's a different kettle of fish. That will not, I mean,
all right, now there's on the papers this morning. There's this issue. There's this Federal Executive Council molds creation of Election Offences Commission. How does this contradict the Electoral Act issues we're talking about now?
You see,
because it still concerns elections.
Can you now begin to understand or appreciate where some of us are coming from? That the executive should be warned and let them understand that their duty there is for executive functions. You cannot wake up one day and make laws. It's not possible. And that is why there should be a synergy between any executive and the legislative house. So that if you feel anything that will be for the benefit of everybody, you chip it to them, you sponsor it. The government, the executive can even sponsor a bill, provided it goes through the normal process. So you cannot wake up one day and make laws. It's not possible.
But do you think the executive is afraid of something?
Yes, I think so. That's why I said about the body language. Because if they are not afraid, I'm even still yet to fashion out what they are afraid of.
Okay.
I think is maybe they might be feeling they are becoming unpopular, and again, let me tell you the truth. I've been calling on the INEC chairman. He must live above board this time around. Nigerians are watching. The electoral umpire must do the needful. If not, Nigerians will never forgive you, because we are all watching. But
really, how much can the electoral umpire do when, yes, in terms of the name, it says it is Independent National Electoral Commission. How independent is the electoral umpire, number one, because it has to rely on the federal government for funding. That in itself has been a subject of controversy lately until finally.
I want to tell you something.
Yes.
You see, it's just because we are not actually practicing democracy the way it should be. I keep on telling Nigerians that what I see us practice today is what I call quasi-democracy. Where there is real democracy in play, there must be checks and balances. And that is why Montesquieu propounded the theory of separation of power.
Yes.
Now look at it. Let me tell you, in every government, the legislative arm is even seen to be more powerful than the executive arm. The money the executive is going to spend must be approved and appropriated by the legislators. So the executive cannot withhold fund meant for INEC. It's not possible. I don't know whether. So once the National Assembly has given approval, is it because of this chicken something we're doing in Nigeria? Every house of assembly in this country, all the members has turned to errand boys to all the governors, forgetting that the governor cannot do anything without your approval.
So your grouse now is the issue of the sidelining of checks and balances.
That is the thing.
And not necessarily what the executive is saying. Look, these are the issues on the ground. These are the reasons why we have refused to sign the electoral bill for now. And as a matter of fact, the Attorney General of the Federation has been asked to draft 3 bills to present to the National Assembly on this electoral.
It's funny. You see, what the executive could have done, I don't know. Well, I believe that one day, by God's grace, people that know their onions will be there. What the executive would have done is, when this process of amendment started, is to make their own input. I don't know whether you understand me. But why keeping quiet after the whole process? You now want to kill the whole process and now start afresh. Does it look normal?
Okay. Meanwhile, there's the ECOWAS protocol on democracy and good governance that really ensures that
everybody was carried along.
These things must be in place 6 months before.
Yes, everybody was carried along. This thing was not done inside the house. It was in the public domain. The executive, they were aware, and why did they keep quiet? Yeah,
but what would be the implication of this? The specification is that it has to be done 6 months to the election. Yeah. And if you calculate 6 months, September is anything after September, you're eating deep into. So how does this stand, even if they have to make that amendment?
Well, after of course, that's what is called doctrine of necessity. You understand? Yes. And all the rest, it can apply and all the rest. But I think what the executive is trying to do is to play and whittle down on the whole process so that we will keep on using the old electoral act for this election. That's why I said they are afraid of something. Because the moment this is signed and becomes law, which means that is what will guide
the next
2019 election. You see the whole game there. So, my brother, I'm beginning to see a sit-tight syndrome in this country. When we say that we're the giant of Africa, other countries, they are leaving Nigeria. Other African countries are leaving Nigeria, moving forward. And that's why I wouldn't conclude by not saying and remembering to the executive and Nigerians that we must look at this. In the case of Parker versus Parker, Lord Dennis said something in his ruling. It was an obiter dictum. He said that until we start doing what we have not done before, we will remain standstill while the rest of the world moves on. That is exactly where we are today. Other countries are moving on. In Africa, we're no longer talking about Europe and Asia. We're talking about Africa. If care is not taken, Nigeria will become a laughingstock very soon. We must do the needful. We must leave all these personal interests, all these political party politics we are playing and all that, and think about the future of this country. Whether we like it or not, I'm still ashamed to begin to continue seeing that all the people I read when I was in school, when we were doing history in school, all the names I came across as politicians are still the people I have met now. My children have grown. They are still
learning the same.
Where are we going?
Where are we going?
We have to leave it here now. Where are we going? Which way, Nigeria?
Which way, Nigeria?
Justice Uwegbu, human rights lawyer, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you. It is my pleasure.
Thank you very much.